Hello YouTube, this is Ryan here, doing another video for you today. Going to talk about, gonna ramble a little bit. This is my setup here. You may notice that there's different lighting. I got a black background. This is my studio downstairs in my garage. And wanted to just kind of chat, have a talk with you, and just share some stuff on my mind with kind of what I'm doing with the channel, and just, I don't know, ramble a little bit. In case you want to join in the discussion, feel free to make a comment. I wanted to actually just talk about kind of my process of how I make videos and just some things that are in the pipeline that I think about when I do try to make content for the web. I think one of the hardest things when it comes to making videos is just publishing it, you know, having the balls, right, to actually tolerate the criticism and, you know, and just deal with the thumbs down on occasion, or just maybe not getting enough views. And that's sort of the biggest challenge when you're trying to make content for the web, as you know. For those of you who don't know, I have other channels that I'm trying to build for my son, Endercraft HD, as well as my tech review channel, and just a lot of other projects that I have in the pipeline that just interest me. The problem is with all this video that I do have, I want to make stuff for, and make voiceovers and do some stuff with After Effects and different kind of videos. The challenge I do actually have is being able to just have the time to edit. So just trying to go through the process of deciding which thing I want to work on first, and I'm kind of behind on my training videos quite a bit, but I kind of wanted to have this little talk with you because I think it's kind of cool that I'm in the mood to actually talk to my powerlifting strength channel, sitting here in my kind of a little bit higher quality studio. But actually I'm actually testing my microphone as well. I got a new wireless mic I got from Amazon, so hopefully this sounds okay. But I kind of want to share what I write down on my Note 4. This is my phone, and I use Evernote to keep track of some things. And when I listen to audiobooks and articles and read articles and listen to YouTube videos and podcasts, I try to take notes. I think of good titles, and a lot of the time they don't even really make it because there's just so much stuff going on in my day that I never remember what I want to talk about. But there's some cool stuff on here I thought I'd share with you. And maybe as I make this video and talk to you about it, you might want to make a comment. Maybe you want to have me make a video on that specific topic, or maybe elaborate it and talk about it more. And you never know, with this kind of a video where I'm just kind of freestyling it, I might actually say something valuable that has some interest and maybe be entertaining. Who knows? I'm usually informative, not really entertaining. But anyway, so let's go see here. Some stuff I wrote on my list here. Why powerlifting? I don't exactly know why I wrote that, but the one thing I do think about when I think why powerlifting, I think about mental ability, pushing yourself mentally, because that's the greatest gift I've gotten from powerlifting. It's that understanding. You know, I was this arrogant trainer, you know, training for a long time, helping people, and you know, sometimes when you're in a field for an extended period of time, you get a little arrogant, your head gets too big, and it happens. It happens sort of slowly, and it's sort of a really bad disease sometimes. And you might know people in your job that might be higher up, or maybe friends and family members that think they know it all. And as you learn something brand new, like me, learning powerlifting, you realize that you're really this small and you really don't know. And it's a really cool learning experience. Article that I'm working on, 5 business mistakes when talking to clients. Trying to write an article for the Personal Training Development Center. Not giving 100% to a client. Now that's actually interesting. That's really more of a title. You want to give good service, but it's sort of a kind of a viewpoint that I look at when I talk about teaching and training clients. And that is, you give as much as a client gives. And that necessarily means money. It means about emotion and energy. You know, if they're giving you 50%, you're going to give them 50%. The worst thing you can do when you train a client or coach somebody is to like just pour your heart into somebody and they barely give anything. You know, it's very draining. Some people out there have a lot more energy than me, but I try to conserve my energy. If you give me a lot of energy, I'm going to give it all to you. And if anything, I don't make very much money doing YouTube videos at all. Barely anything, really. And it's interesting because I enjoy doing this and I get a lot from it. Your comments mean a lot to me. The interaction means a lot to me because it just makes me think. It's kind of cool that I can actually impact someone across a computer screen to a few hundred people, which is kind of cool. How to talk to clients. So these are just notes. Stuck. I don't know exactly what I was thinking about when I said stuck. Let's go see here. Other things. Can't wait for it to be over. When I wrote this note here, I was actually thinking about what people, when I train people sometimes, they can't wait for the set to be over. Or maybe when I train, I'm squatting a certain amount of weight or deadlifting a certain amount of weight. You just can't wait for it to be over, especially for like a rep max, right? In your head, you're going to do 7 reps of something or 5 reps of something, and you just can't wait for it to be done. You just want to get to that number. And it's a really poor mentality because it's kind of distracting. It's positive and negative. For maybe someone who's new, it can be very positive, but for someone who's actually trying to get the absolute best out of themselves, it's actually negative because you're essentially giving yourself a limit, and it's not good. Tight and upright. I wrote that note because if you want to insinuate stuff like Brandon Campbell does in some of his videos, I think of tight and upright. I was actually pertaining to a deadlift video or topic I wanted to talk about deficits, which I never made or have yet to make. Functional anatomy and powerlifting. Now, what's that? Well, sort of like the function of anatomy and powerlifting. You know, it's funny because you can really just go into that in depth and detail. So I kind of have to actually write more notes with that. Maybe you can make a comment below if you're actually listening this far into the video. Functional anatomy and powerlifting is like, I mean, the one thing that I've been thinking about lately when it comes to functional anatomy and powerlifting is I actually think about core, right? Because it's some people say your core, your midsection. I think about grip. I think about training accessories. I think about the competition lift. And I think it's, throughout last year, 2014, I spent definitely too much time doing competition lifting, really trying to perfect technique, obsessing over getting better and getting the most amount of leverage. In truth, I was just really cheating myself because a lot of my great results that I got in my first meet in February of 2014, about a year ago, was really great simply because I just built strength, a lot of general strength, up until my meet from all of 2013, and then when I decided to actually do a meet, I started working on my specific strength for the specific technique I was going to use in powerlifting. And I don't know, I can go anywhere right there. I'll stop right there. Leave a comment if you want to talk more about that. Muscles that flex and extend the same muscle. Muscles that flex and extend the same muscle. You know, that's like a riddle. I forgot what that was. Weak versus tight muscles in the low back. Oh, this is actually something I talk to a lot about clients that have low back problems or low back tightness. As you know, I deal with mostly regular people, no athletes. But you can still take a lot of their situations and really apply it to you if you're definitely a higher level person, like you're an athlete, you do powerlifting, which is what this channel tends to be about. Is a lot of people's lower back is rarely very weak. It's actually that it's overused most of the time. It's just, remember the lower back, you think about the spinal cord and you think about the way the body's created, right? A lot of the thickness of the chest muscles in the upper back, think about what they do. They actually surround the heart, the chest cavity, right? To protect the heart, really, if you think about it. At least that's kind of my viewpoint of, just from a sort of common sense evolutionary perspective. But that's just, my opinion. But you think about the low back, when a muscle gets really tight, I kind of went on a tangent there, but when a muscle gets really tight, what that means is it's trying to find stability. It's trying to, I was going to say artificial, but not really artificial. It's just trying to find a way to sort of make things stable. Because when things are stable, they will have a likelihood of being stronger. It's kind of a way for a joint to be lazy. Because a lot of time, flexibility requires a lot more coordination. It requires more strength. It requires a lot more, I guess, a different kind of skill. I won't say more skill. I guess you can say it takes more skill because if you're flexible, you have more range of motion to control. Think about someone who can snatch, get hands above their head to a really, overhead snatch, right, or overhead squat. And you're throwing something above your head, and if you're really flexible, there's a good chance that you're just going to go past your head, right, if you have a good pull. A lot of people who are very tight and you get a good pull on a barbell snatch, your shoulders are so tight, your chest muscles are so tight that your muscles are going to stop it. That's just one example. But I had a lady today I was training actually, and she rolled her ankle. And I was telling her that, you know, stretching is important, the ankle is important to stretch and making sure you have good range of motion. But a lot of the time you have to understand that when you stretch a muscle, you're desensitizing it. You're desensitizing it to a point of reduction so that it becomes less active. And although that can seem good because it helps improve flexibility and range of motion, you're putting yourself in a situation where you have less stability and you don't have the ideal motor control. And if you're going to stretch too much and foam roll too much before training, you can actually cause yourself at a higher risk, depending on what you're doing, of course. What else did I write here? Muscle that works harder than it should, weak or overworked. And that's just pertaining to lower back again. People need to really work more on their butt and their stomach and get those functioning as a unit. I think that's kind of what, you know, I mean, people say, you hear about muscle imbalances, people with lower back problems, lower back tightness, weak glutes, weak abs. And that's true, but you have to look at it from a systems approach because you want to do both. So you kind of activate the glutes, you activate the abs, you prime the system, but then you train the body as a unit. That's how you're going to have a stronger core. That's what you want to do. You want to get as close to activating everything at the same time, which means doing the full body lifts, like the squat and deadlift, for example. A YouTube message for Brandon Campbell. I actually wanted to say thank you to him because one of the things what did I say to him? Yeah, I messaged him like 9 months ago about getting a shout out, and I eventually did, which was kind of nice, which kind of get my channel going over, you know, 4 digits in subscribers. And he said, just keep working on your content, and I'm starting to understand what he meant by that months later. Video editing on Odesk, so maybe getting a virtual assistant to help me with editing video. 2 years ago, 500, now 800. So that's pertaining to deadlift, actually. I kind of made a video on that, right? Talking about believing that I might be able to pull 800 pounds someday. Very low likelihood, but, you know, why not try? Punishment and powerlifting. Oh, this is a good one. Some notes I actually wrote in this topic here. Not the goal. Training practice is the goal. So I listened to this really great podcast with Pavel Tutsulin with Tim Ferriss. And if you follow that show, I just highly recommend you watch that. And I remember a few months ago, someone asked me about like my programming and the way I think. And I just realized after I listened to this podcast with Pavel and Tim Ferriss chatting and him interviewing him, I realized that a lot of my training methodology for myself and me teaching people actually comes from him. A lot of his writing, a lot of his books, and a lot of his articles that I've read over the years ago, like 2008, right? He influenced me greatly, and that he is actually a really big part of kind of how I sort of view things. Of course, combined with my personal training certifications with NASM, Corrective Exercise Specialist, and Performance Enhancement Specialist. I have these other certifications, but I kind of combined that into that sort of strength view because I tried a lot of his approaches and they got me really fast results. And the viewpoint on them is just such a simple philosophy, it makes a lot of sense. And just to give you one simple one is simply just to, what is it? Like, for example, in the podcast, he talks about how the Russians used to train, and what they would do is they would take their 10 rep max and they would do lots of sets of that 10 rep max between 3 and 6 reps. And, you know, there's percentages, whatever you want to use them at, because, you know, a lot of programs nowadays talk about percentages. And there's different viewpoints on programming. You know, there's the RTS model with RPE. There's, what else is there? There's cube method, they use percentages. I mean, a lot of places use all kinds of different things, but they don't, I guess in Pavel's books, he does talk a little bit about percentages depending on what he's talking about. But what's kind of cool is that it's so simple sometimes. It's so simple that it makes sense. And then when I combine it with some of the, I guess, somewhat complicated stuff I know, or confusing, I should really say, it just kind of clears up some of the gunk. You know, because you're watching this video, you're looking for information, you're looking to get more out of your training, you're looking to train smarter and learn more. And without a formal background or even a certification, it's kind of hard to really decipher everything. Or even if you do have a certification, it's still kind of hard to decipher everything. You're trying to decide the best training approach. And most of the time, you're just trying to understand what works and understand more about it, hoping that you can get more performance out of yourself, or simply because you just enjoy learning about it, like me. I don't know why, I just love it. So anyways, I kind of went on a tangent there. So punishment and powerlifting was really, you know, working out. He talked about working out and how working out is Doesn't make any sense. You know, in the Russian language, he said there is no word for the word workout. There's training. And I was telling a client this. It was great because it works perfect. You know, we are not trying to beat you to a pulp, like some workout systems are. It's to crush you, right? We're trying to get better. It's a training session. It's a lesson. We're trying to take something and we're trying to get better at it. We're not just trying to pummel our biceps or pummel our shoulders. We're trying to get better at the movement. We're trying to build the muscle up. We're trying to build technique. You know, all these things we're learning. And that's how I approach each training. I hate the work. For me, the worst workouts sometimes tend to be accessory movements because I feel like I'm just working out. I'm not training. And that's sort of kind of how, that's kind of why I love just doing one exercise and just keep working on it and getting better at it. What else is here? So it reminded me to kind of look at some other books he had, like Pavel and stretching. It actually motivated me to set a goal to do a, what was it? It motivated me to actually do a really, to do the splits. By the end of the year, my goal is to do the splits. Believe it or not, that's my goal. Kind of a ridiculous goal. Holding a grudge against holding a grudge against a certain medical institution. I wrote this down because there was a client, she was talking and she kind of says all these things, and her language is interesting because if you hear her talk, and based on all my knowledge of learning and reading and learning about people, is that she's very much a victim. She likes to kind of take the problem and put it outside of herself, and because these persons didn't help me, this is why I'm the way I am. And I wanted to mention this because I want to talk about it because people are so sneaky. Not only because a lot of us want to believe that we're accountable, but in truth, we just make a bunch of excuses. We just sort of trick ourselves into believing that we can't do something, or the reason why we are not doing something is because of X, Y, Z. And we just slowly, gradually become this victim of circumstance. But the truth is, the reality is, you can rise above your circumstance. Of course, your situation is unique to you, and there are real problems that make it difficult for you, for a person to kind of get over certain issues, but you can still rise above your circumstance. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Depends on where you're coming from. Headphones. That's just talking about tech again. Headphones. I've been nerding out on headphones on head-fi.org. Head-fi.org is kind of what I've been doing the last 2 weeks. Are calves the limiting factor? I don't know why I wrote that. Yes, that's what I wrote about. I actually made a video on that talking about knee pain. I think I did. I'm not sure if that's what that note is actually talking about. Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes. Oh, this is actually a quote that I use. This is actually some words of stuff for my son to read for a kindness video he made. Kids, kind words can be short and easily. I'm sorry. Kind words Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. I think I wrote that wrong. It's a Mother Teresa quote. I wrote that wrong. I had to cut it out actually because I wrote it wrong. He read the wrong quote because I wrote it down wrong. People's curiosity changes lives. Now this was actually a good one. This reminds me of a TV show I used to like and watch before he started. Anyways, it's called House, right? He's just this guy who's just really into solving problems. He doesn't really care about helping the person. He just cares about solving the problem. It's like this riddle. But as a byproduct of being obsessed over solving this riddle, he ends up actually saving someone's life. And he does it because he's just really into it. It's his thing. And that's sort of my thing, right? I'm just obsessed with trying to get better, make myself better, and I want to share my journey because I know that when I share my journey, I get more from it. And I'm just obsessing over it because, I'm wondering why I don't have any internal rotation in my hip, especially my right one. Why I have back problems, why I can't get past this lockout point. Actually, this is interesting. I was thinking about this today. I was teaching someone to deadlift, and he was deadlifting 275, heavyweight for him. And I was starting to see what I was doing wrong. I was watching him train. I'm like, I think I do that. And what I'm going to describe to you, essentially the lockout, is when the bar leaves the ground and then starts to pass your knees, the bar just gets just a little too far forward because the hips rise just a little too quickly. I've mentioned this before, and I kind of understood it before, but then when I actually saw someone do it, it made a lot of sense, because that's where your leverage is. Because the other day I pulled 580 off blocks, I think 6-inch blocks maybe, or 5-inch blocks. And what ended up happening was I missed lockout. It came off pretty quick. That's a video I actually need to post soon. It came off pretty quick. If you check my Instagram, I think it's on Instagram. But the problem with that lockout was that my hips rose too quickly, and I had no more leverage, so I had to let go. And I think that's why I'm not using my lats to kind of pull in the bar. And that kind of got me thinking about sort of like some other people I see deadlift, like Rubish, who, sorry, there's a mosquito or whatever that is. There's a, like Rubish lift, like he has really rounded upper back and his lats are super tight, super strong. So I'm wondering if I should build that. So it's kind of like, I feel like I've kind of been in the zone back and forth when I'm trying to hit 95% or more. Should I overly round my back and then try to get the most out of, get lockout and get faster off the ground? Or should I, like Rubish and some other people I've seen lift, or should I kind of go more towards Mike Trichere and kind of focus on keeping a more neutral back? You know, so should overly round? I don't know. That's just, again, thinking out loud. The Choice Paradox. This is actually a book recommended that I need to read. It looks really cool. It looks interesting. Abundance is better than you think. I don't know what that means. The best deadlift articles. I wanted to make a list of best deadlift articles. Excuse me there. Best exercise for chronic low back tightness. That would be the one leg slide, or hollow rock, or just a hollow position, I think. Training to failure. Wanted to make a video about talking training to failure. Moving away from powerlifting specificity. Now this is actually a video I want to talk about a lot, because you know, we get so stuck in trying to improve our total that we actually hurt ourselves in the long run. We get overuse injuries. Actually, it's funny because that's what makes powerlifting so fun, because you can actually feel progress. You learn something each time you train. When it's bench day, if you do like a, you know, sort of a 1 day a week heavy lifting program, you can see where your hands are, or you can see where you're losing tightness, or you see where you're getting better at. And the problem with that is that you end up running into overuse injuries. Dave Tate talks about this. But it was pretty interesting just thinking about that idea, moving away from specificity and just working on general strength, because general strength is actually a lot more important, because it actually translates better into normal life. Because if you just focus on building muscle and getting stronger, it's going to carry over with everything that you do much better. And I guess what I'm trying to say with saying that is that the bodybuilding stuff, the CrossFit gymnastics stuff, the Olympic lifting stuff can actually help you get better if you just take a break from powerlifting. I just wanted to say it in a better way. You know, the thing about what I'm saying is that it just depends on where you're at in your lifting. That's the thing, and also how much time you have, because that's also another bottleneck. I want to make a video how I got into powerlifting, talk about CrossFit and Kelly Starrett. Actually, Kelly Starrett, if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I've mentioned CrossFit and Kelly Starrett. I even did the Open once. Actually did the CrossFit Open last year. And Kelly Starrett, his videos actually helped me fix myself and allowed me to make myself not have pain. And what I did with this lack of reduced pain and less problems, I decided to get strong and decided to deadlift 500 pounds. And because of that, I was able to just get strong and really basically make a channel like this. I can elaborate more on that later. How you get there matters. That's really talking about human movement. Too smart to work hard. This is actually pretty good. And I always have this problem. I feel like I'm too smart sometimes, where, I mean, and I guess it's pertaining to work, because I don't have to work as hard to get the same result as someone who's new. So I find myself working not as hard. And the reason for that is I shoot myself in the foot. And that's what I do with powerlifting too. I don't work hard enough because I'm trying to find a shortcut. And I think that's all we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do. I'm not speaking for you, but I'm speaking for me. And I'm just telling you this because it's a flaw and I need to fix it. I feel like I'm too smart to work hard, and the truth is I need to start working hard, or harder. Deadlift seminar to SSD. So this is just a note to myself. I need to publish the deadlift seminar, which I did, part 1, and now I need to edit and do part 2. Obstacles, I don't know what that means. Be a part of the barbell. That one's actually pretty good because I talked to a client trying to teach her how to back squat, 65-year-old lady, teaching her how to back squat. And I told her she needs to become one with the barbell. Well, a funny story today is that, you know, I've been getting into powerlifting has created this new awareness of myself and in my own training and training other people, is that I just realized, being sort of a somewhat serious athlete now for my own training, I realized the people don't pay attention to their fucking training. They don't listen. I mean, they do the movement, but they don't pay attention. You know, there's very few clients actually pay attention. They don't focus. They're so distracted. They're distracted by pain. You know, something hurts so much. But when you're really focused on doing something, there is no pain. You know, you don't have time to hurt. You're so focused on finishing the movement. And that's why I told her it was kind of cool. And then she squatted the bar 3 times, which was great. Because one of the sets that she did, she squatted down to the box, and then she got stuck. And then she just like rolled over and folded in half, right? Because she lost tightness. And then she says, oh, I felt that I lost tightness. I'm just like, you shouldn't be feeling anything. You should just be focused on pushing the weight. Anyways, greatest adversity in life. Now this is actually a pretty interesting one. And if you happen to be at the end of this video, my greatest adversity in life was actually losing my mom. My mom was murdered by my dad. And that was actually probably very difficult for me. I was 14 years old. And my brothers and I had to move from Daly City to Fairfield. It was very difficult because, you know, you have new friends. I was in high school at the time. And just a kind of domino effect of just sad stories. And sometimes you can be so hard on yourself, like I am. I'm sometimes hard on myself. I've come in and out of depression and having all these issues that it's funny because I say it's funny because I have nothing to be sad about. You know, I am happy. I'm happy with where I'm at. And it took me a really long time to realize that and I laugh because I just, I have a great life. And I'm talking about greatest adversity because I heard a coworker of mine is trying to join the Gray Skull Challenge on Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin's show. And one of the questions was, what's your greatest adversity in life? And he couldn't come up with his greatest adversity. And then, because he had a pretty good life, he said, he didn't have any real big issues, And it's funny to me because I'm just like, damn, I went through a lot of stuff for myself, and look how far I've come. And I guess I'm gloating, but it's just really more that it just makes me wonder why I'm so hard on myself, and why do I beat myself up for not being where I think I should be. It's like essentially talking about not being good enough, and it's always a big challenge. I don't know if you maybe suffer with this problem also, is that you just don't feel like you're good enough, whether it be for your job, girlfriend, wife, family, whatever. And I think that's a really good place to end it. So, thanks for watching if you made it this far. See you guys later.